Welcome to KeepItReal Studios, the only channel on YouTube that keeps it real. Throughout UFC's long lineage, we have seen multiple world champions, and only 9 of those world champions have actually been 2 division champions, and 4 out of those 9 fighters have actually held the belt simultaneously. Being a UFC fighter is not for the faint of heart. It's probably one of the most difficult things on planet Earth, and making it into the top 5 is even harder. And being a world champion is even the hardest part. You have multiple fighters who have been in the UFC for decades now and who have been struggling to touch gold. So being a world champion is arguably very impressive. So being a 2-time world champion at the same time is definitely something that people would want to achieve. As a UFC fan, it always blows my mind to see someone achieve becoming a champion, and seeing someone becoming a 2 division champion is even more impressive. And a lot of fighters know this. A lot of fighters right now are chasing the legacy of becoming a 2 division champion. This actually leads me into the topic of today's video. I do believe that the UFC has a double champion problem. Don't get me wrong, seeing a double champion in the UFC is arguably impressive. I would love to see a lot of fighters chase this goal, but I do think that it's not really the best thing. It definitely not only affects the UFC as a whole, but affects other fighters too as well. On average, we usually see world champions defend their championship once or twice a year, which is understandable. Not every fighter is like Alex Pereira, who's willing to fight at any given time. You know, some fights can be very dangerous for fighters. They do need time to recover and kind of recuperate to come back and defend their championship once again. Now you gotta take it into accountability. If you have a double champion, you're not only holding up 1 division, but you're holding up 2. If you look at any weight class in the UFC currently, there are multiple fighters in the division who have amazing unbeaten streaks or who are just undefeated, and they deserve to have a title shot. Now, if you stop and think about it, if you have a double champion, what are the odds of them even getting a chance to fight that champion? Even being a double champion can be very difficult on the fighter. Just cutting weight can be something tremendously difficult. You know, if you have to cut down to 145, then you have to cut down to 155, that is something that's not very good, and that could be something that's very draining on your body, and that's something that could be very deadly for the fighter. Nowadays, I believe a lot of champions don't even want to defend their belt. They'll defend their belt once and then want to jump up in weight class to fight the champion. And to me, that makes absolutely no sense. I truly believe that the UFC needs to implement a new rule. I believe you need at least 4 to 5 title defenses before you can even move up to chase the double champion status. A perfect fighter who embodied that rule for me was Alexander Volkanovski. At this point in time, Alexander Volkanovski was the featherweight champion of the world. He was running through everybody in the division and he had multiple title defenses. So it only made sense for him to move up in weight class to fight Islam Makhachev. And we definitely seen by the first fight, it actually definitely made sense. It was a very close fight and a lot of people actually thought Volkanovski won that fight. So to me, that is something that I truly believe a lot of champions need to be doing first. They need to have multiple title defensives before they jump up in weight class to face the other champion. If you're looking at all the recent talks that's been going on with Ilia Topuria, he has stated that he wants to move up to the lightweight division, fight Charles Oliveira, beat him, then face Islam Makhachev for the championship. First of all, I will give it to him. Him wanting to fight Charles Oliveira instead of just moving up right away to fight Islam, that is nice. That is very respectable. I do believe a win over Charles Oliveira does kind of earn you a title shot. Although Ilia Topuria only has 1 title defense. Don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful title defense. Knocking out Max Holloway like that was absolutely spectacular. But you gotta remember, him defeating Volkanovski wasn't a title defense. That's when he won the championship. So Ilia Topuria only has 1 title defense currently. And I do believe there are multiple people that he needs to defend in the featherweight division. You have Diego Lopez and you have Movsar Voyev. There's multiple fighters in the featherweight division that I believe that Ilia Topuria does need to fight first before he even moves up in weight classes. If you're looking at the current lightweight champion of the world, Islam Makhachev, he himself wants to be double champion too. He wants to move up to welterweight and become a double champion too as well. Honestly, Islam is quite understandable. I do believe Islam does have a lot of good wins and a lot of proper title defenses, and especially if his upcoming match with Armin Tsarukyan, if he does defeat him, I do believe that kind of earns him an opportunity to go up into the welterweight division. Although, if you look at some of Islam's title defenses, 2 of them were against the featherweight champion, at the time, Alexander Volkanovski. And Islam actually gets a lot of backlash for this. A lot of people saying Islam's best title defenses are up against a featherweight. So if you think about it, that's also another problem that I have with the double champion status. Even Islam said himself, he doesn't want to fight Ilia Topuria. He doesn't want to keep giving chances to small guys because it's only affecting his career and it's only giving him the name value. It doesn't really give him anything else too as well.
One guy that keeps talking about you also is Ilia Topuria. Do you have a message for him? He really wants to fight you next year.
No, man. I'm tired to give chance the small guys. You know? I need my second belt, you know. It's nothing excited. He's a good fighter. He's a good skills fighter, but I don't want to give him chance, you know. I need second belt. They fight for what? For me, it's nothing. Just his name. I don't need his name. I need the belt.
If you look into it a little bit further, Islam wants to go up into the welterweight division and fight the champion Belal. But Belal currently has 0 title defense. He hasn't even been up against Shavkat Rakhmonov yet. Not only does he hold up Shavkat's championship opportunity, there's also multiple people that I believe in the welterweight division that deserve a championship opportunity. You have fighters like JDM, even a fighter like Usman. I believe if Usman just gets like one solid win, he could have another shot at the title. So there's multiple fighters in the division that I do believe deserves championship opportunities in the UFC. Focusing more on the heavyweight division, the current champion of the world is Jon Jones. And this is where it's a little bit different. We have the heavyweight champion calling out the light heavyweight champion. Jon Jones has stated multiple times that he wants to fight Alex Poetan Pereira just because of his background and all the achievements that he's had both in and out of the UFC. But not only is Jon Jones holding up in the heavyweight division, he's also currently holding up the light heavyweight division with this. Currently in the light heavyweight division, the fighter who deserves this title shot the most is Ankalaev. And now a lot of people are saying that Alex Poetan Pereira is ducking him. And if you look at the heavyweight division, you currently have the world interim champion Tom Aspinall, who's been deserving this title shot and he's not getting it against Jon Jones. Currently at this point in time, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall both have the same amount of title defenses. I still don't understand how Jon Jones hasn't fought Tom Aspinall yet, and I still don't understand how Alex Pereira hasn't fought Ankalaev. So when you stop and think about it, having a double champion in the UFC is probably one of the worst things we can have for the sport. Not only does it hold up 2 weight classes, it actually is very detrimental to the champions too as well. It can really affect their health if they're cutting weight from multiple divisions and back and forth. I don't really think this is very good for the fighter's health, and it's something that's not very good for the sport. Don't get me wrong, having a double champion is cool. It does make a lot of headlines and it does get a lot of attraction for the sport. But overall, in long term, it's not really the best thing. But that's basically it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what are your thoughts and your comments are just this double champion things going on in the UFC. That'll be it for today's video, and don't forget to keep it real.